But our next speaker is going to be talking about data, Google Analytics data sets and the like. He's going to open your minds to some of the cool stuff about those things. That sounds good. It sounds like I know what I'm talking about, right? It was impressive. Thijs de Valk, some of you may know Yoast and Yoast.com. Thijs de Valk has been there since 2012, and he's going to be sharing some of the insights he's learned there with his work on Yoast.com, as well as before that as well. He's a very well-experienced man. So I hope you guys are going to welcome with open hearts all the way from the Netherlands as well, Mr. Thijs de Valk.
I'm back! I'm back! I'm back! I'm back! Get up off of that thing!
Hello.
You better!
Yeah, so I'm Thijs de Valk. I'm going to be talking today about data and psychology, so actually not about SEO. If you know Yoast, you probably thought I was going to be talking about SEO. I'm not, so sorry to disappoint already. This is my talk's title, not very interesting. Today I'm going to be talking about e-commerce tracking, as I said, landing pages and loyal customers. I'll basically be taking you through 2 data sets in Google Analytics. I wanted to do like 15, but I don't have the time. So I'll be taking you through 2 data sets in Google Analytics that I really like because they're just so simple and easy to find. When I said that earlier, this guy was like, I've never heard Google Analytics and easy to find in one sentence, so, maybe I'm wrong, but I find it easy to find. And the first thing I'm going to be talking about is e-commerce tracking. Can you give me a show of hands for who actually has tracking installed on their website? Okay, who of you actually do own a website? Okay. Who of you own an e-commerce website? And do you all have e-commerce tracking? Okay, that sounds about right. I mean, if you don't have tracking on your website and you're an e-commerce site and you don't have e-commerce tracking, then you should get it, period. I mean, this is important stuff. You need to find out where you're lacking in your website, where your website is not doing what it's supposed to do. And it is, selling your stuff. So you should definitely be thinking about how can I improve my site, and the first thing to do is install tracking and be sure that you actually have some data on where you can improve. There's one thing I want to make clear as well, and that's that complex data is not better data. There are a lot of people who are using like 15,000 different tracking things. That's awesome, that's all data bundled up on each other, and that's great. But you have to start at the beginning anyway. There are so many people still making mistakes in the basic things of a website that you can't even imagine how many times I've encountered websites that just don't do the basics right. And you have to actually make sure that you do the basics right first before you go into the complex data. So it doesn't mean it's better data. The best data is the data you need. And the data you need is just the data that gives you an actual improvement on your site. So the first thing I'll be talking about is landing pages. You can find them like right there. Under behavior, if you're in Google Analytics and you've logged in and you're in your Google Analytics screen, you can go to the behavior tab, and then below that there's the site content tab, and then you just find your landing pages. These are the pages that people actually land on your site. So they enter through Google or social media, they enter your site, and they land on that page. What I always do is I sort by revenue and not by page views. I can do that because our landing pages actually work. You have to be sure that your landing pages work, and what I mean then is that the high volume traffic pages usually are also the high volume revenue pages. So if that's not the case, then this won't work for you. You don't have to sort by revenue. But when you go there in Google Analytics to the landing pages data set, the one thing that I find most interesting is the bounce rate. Bounce rate is basically all about interaction. A bounce is when someone enters your site and then leaves again without interacting at all on your site. So they basically just bounce off your site. So the bounce rate is the percentage of people, of your visitors, that actually bounce off your site without doing anything. And that's really not what you want, obviously. You want that bounce rate to be as low as possible. Over 70% is basically too high. Around 50% is usually average. Below 40% is pretty great, actually. And below 20% means you have a tracking issue, because that just doesn't happen. Then, there's things you can do about your bounce rate. And this is exactly where the psychology comes in. So you found in your Google Analytics data, you found some things that you can improve on. Like, you found a landing page that's not actually doing that well, revenue-wise or page view-wise or whatever, and its bounce rate is just too high. So the first thing you can do is actually add call to actions. We've had a lot of talk about call to actions today, so I won't bore you too long with them. But this is a remark that I keep making to clients, and they always tell me, yeah, I know, this is obvious. I mean, if you don't make things visible, people won't see them. But everyone that's coming to me asking for advice, almost everyone, I'm not saying everyone, is doing this wrong. If it's not visible, how can you make sure that people will buy your products? By making it visible. But it's on my site. Yes, it's on your site, but they can't find it. And if they can't find it, it's basically not there. And this has a lot to do with the attention span. So who of you has an idea of what the average person's attention span is? Just shout some 5 seconds. Okay. Okay, so I'm here like 2 seconds, 5 seconds. That's all really low, actually. If your attention span is 2 seconds, then you need to go see a doctor. It's actually about 8 seconds. So the people who shouted 2 and 5 are like, okay, that's fine, but until you compare it to that of a goldfish, because it's shorter than that of a goldfish. And of course, this is also because we can all have way more input in our brains. Our brains are way more advanced than that of a goldfish, so we can actually understand a lot more things together at one certain point in time. But this does mean that you literally have seconds to convince your visitors that this is the place they should buy whatever they're looking for. So that's one of the main reasons why you have to have call to actions. And going back to call to actions, I'll give you an example which is kind of embarrassing for me, because this is the sales on our WooCommerce bundle on Yoast.com. It was like a flat line up until like 2 months ago, because we basically didn't really point people at our WooCommerce bundle. And as soon as we did, and this was just like a few lines of text and then some text links in there on the related products pages, and the sales started going up, and they're still going up now. This was taken like 2-3 weeks ago when I had to hand in my slides, and this is still going up now, and it's exponential, because this is not really eating up other sales. It's not cannibalizing at all. So these are all new sales, new customers we had just by adding 2 text links and 1 bit of text on, I think, 3 product pages. And I have another example, which is a call to action on our WordPress SEO Premium plugin page. All our plugin pages had a call to action above the fold. So the fold is the part of the website you can see without scrolling when it loads. So all of our plugin pages had a CTA above the fold, except for the premium plugin page, which is really silly, and I only found out in like half August, because I'm a busy man. I'm not looking at our own website all the time. And as soon as I added it, we got like 30 to 40 sales a week extra, and that was the only difference I made. And again, this is still growing as well. So this is an exponential change for us, and it makes a lot of sense to actually be doing this. So One thing that's also connected to the 8-second attention span is the headlines. You have to tell the important stuff right away. So you have to tell them in your headlines why they should be buying the stuff they want to buy at your store. What makes your store special? What's special about your e-commerce website that they can't get their product on another website? And if you do that, if you have the why of where they should buy it, and where they can actually buy it, above the fold, on a page, in a clear way, people will start buying more because they can literally read your headlines, click the buy button, and they're done. You have to make it easy for your visitors. If it's not easy for your visitors, then people won't buy, as easy as you can make it. So, you know, what happens when you can actually, when you're thinking, yeah, okay, so this is great, call to actions and headlines, but how do I make sure that people are looking at those headlines, at those call to actions? We've had this example as well a lot, like arrows. Everyone remembers arrows. They do actually really work. This is actually a picture taken, I kind of stole from wheelofpersuasion.com, which is a great website. You should definitely check it out. And you know, this was done to get people to scroll down more, and they actually, like 300% of the people scrolled down, 300% more people scrolled down when they did this than when they did not have these arrow pointed shapes thingies. So arrows do work. And there's another way that you can actually direct your visitor's gaze, and that's by using pictures, pictures of people. So this is all based on the psychological thing called joint attention. If you have a picture of a person on your website, people will look at it. They can't help it. It's in our basic human nature. That's just what they do. So the left picture is actually not that great of an example because it distracts from your content, and that's exactly not what you want. So what you do is actually make sure the pictures of your people on your website are looking in the direction of where your content is, where your headlines are, where your call to actions are. And this will make sure that people will still look at those babies' faces or those people's faces, but they'll also look at the content, because that's what people do. If people start looking a certain way, other people will follow that motion. There was actually a study done in the United States, I'm not sure where, a few years back, where there were 5 people running the test on a major traffic section, and at random, those guys just started looking up and pointing up. So one started, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and at the end of the day, they had to close down the entire section because everyone on that section was looking up. Even the people that weren't even involved, and they were taking pictures, there was nothing there. But people always look where other people are looking. That's just basic human nature. So the next Google Analytics data set I'm going to be talking about is a bit more advanced. This is a segment I've created. If you don't know what segments are in Google Analytics, come see me afterwards. It's not really that hard, I think. So I've created a segment here that basically filters out everyone who's ever bought something from us. So their revenue is either $1 or more than $1. And then I've created a segment aptly named non-customers. I'm not really sure how to call non-customers in English, so I just call them non-customers. Their revenue is equal to 0, so they haven't made us any money. What I do then is go to the audience section under the behavior tab and new versus returning. This gives you a lot of insight on what these two data sets, these two segments are actually doing on your site. So the interesting thing here is that our non-customers, 60% of our non-customers are actually new, and only 40% are returning. And with our customers, that's about, changed up. So 40% of our customers are new, and 60% of our customers are returning. However, the again, a bit embarrassing fact here is that only just over 60% of our revenue actually comes from returning customers. So we're not really doing that well yet in the loyal customer department. We should really be working, we're actually busy working with that, and it's definitely increasing. So, but this is not really, these stats are great, but as long as your revenue from your loyal customers is about the same percentage as the people coming on your site, then it's not really worth it. And again, now we found here a reason or something we could definitely improve. Like, how do we create loyal customers? How do we make sure that more of our revenue comes from this certain segment of users? And loyalty is really based on reciprocity. Reciprocity is basically scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. An eye for an eye, that kind of thing. I actually have a clip here of Sheldon in Big Bang Theory, who's explaining it. I'm not sure if it'll work. I hope
The foundation of gift giving is reciprocity. Like, you haven't given me a gift. You've given me an obligation.
It's okay. You don't have to get me anything in return.
Of course I do. The essence of the custom is that I now have to go out and purchase for you a gift of commensurate value and representing the same perceived level of friendship as that represented by the gift you've given me. It's no wonder suicide rates skyrocket this time of year.
Right, so he does a really good job actually at explaining reciprocity and explaining the kind of stress it can evoke in people that actually know that they're being abused. But one thing he mentions is that he has to go out and buy a gift of commensurate value. And what science has actually found is that that's really not true. If you give people something, they will overcompensate. They will give you something of more value back. And again, this is just basic human nature. This is also why reciprocity is one of the pillars in Cialdini's book, Influence. If you haven't read it, go read it. And this is a really big thing actually, because that means that you can now give your customers a discount and actually be kind of sure, that a lot of them will actually go out and buy your products. Because if you give a 20% discount, you'll win like 80% if they're a new customer. And that brings me to the next thing, that discounts for the right people do not cost you money. You have to think about who you're giving a discount to. And this might be a Dutch thing, but there are a lot of people telling me, but if I give a discount, it's costing me money. 20% of my revenue is just down the drain, but that's not how it works. You actually get new customers. So you're not losing 20%, you're gaining 80%. It's a sense of perspective that you really have to get, because you have to be positive about this and be sure that you, as soon as you create discounts for people, make sure that they're the right people you create discounts for. So this is also a great way to actually create more loyal customers. Because the next thing is let your actions do the talking for you. This is a bit cryptic maybe. What I basically mean with this is you should have really good support. Really good customer service. If you have really good customer service, you don't need to do all those big ads or whatever. People will do your ads for you. They will sell your company for you. But that's only if you do it right. So one of the big things in creating customer loyalty is you actually give them something back for their money. So the reciprocity works both ways. And in fact, if you handle people well in customer service, they will be talking to it with about 3 to 4 people in their direct circle. This is all from research. About 3 to 4 people will be told, check out this company, check out this product, check out this brand. It's just amazing. But when you give someone a hard time in customer service and they're not as pleased, you'll actually be seeing that they will be telling about 9 people. So for every 1 person that you displease, you'll have to please another 3. So, you know, that's maybe a bit of negative motivation, but it's still motivation enough for me anyway to make sure that our customer service is up to par. Yeah, I'm actually going way too fast through my slides, I'm seeing now, but yeah, this is basically what I do for a living and why I think that psychology and data are just the 2 most important things to grow your business. There's really no other thing that I can find that's as powerful, especially the combination. So, you know, you need to use your data, but just looking at your data won't do it. You have to know and understand why people are doing what they're doing on your site. Actually, actually motivate yourself to learn what people are thinking, why people are doing certain things. And we've had some great talks here today, you know, explaining just that, explaining just why visitors do what they do. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You need to get in there and just educate yourself in psychology. And of course, I'm saying this because I have a background in psychology and, you know, I love it. But if you're serious about your business, you really can't go around psychology. You can't go around data either. So you have to educate yourself. And that was it. Thank you. So we've got like a lot of time for questions now, so go ahead. If you have any. If not, then, you know, I'll be off early. Yeah. He's asking how accurate Google Analytics is, for example, the new versus returning thing. Google Analytics works based on cookies, basically. These cookies, I'm not sure, yeah, they're called cookies, I think. But these cookies will generally last for about a year. Of course, if you clear all your cookies and all your data in your browser, then you'll be a new customer to Google Analytics. So there are some flaws, but it gives you like a ballpark. And there's no way to really go around this because this will be a flaw in every data, in every analytics tool you'll find, basically. So it's not flawless, but you know, it's good enough. Yeah. Well, actually, Google Analytics already filters out a lot of those in and of itself. So there's not really that much you have to do. We have like this custom. I'm not a developer myself, but you know, Yoast just put this custom script on Yoast.com as well that made sure a lot of the known bots were filtered out as well. You can actually do that in Google Analytics as well. So that's just a basic filter you can do in the admin section, and that's well, you know, it's not hard if you know what you're doing. But this is usually too technical for me as well. I'm usually just like, you know, help. Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, if you have a landing page where people are getting into, but they're spending like 5 to 6 minutes but not converting. Well, you know, this is different for every page. But usually I'd look at the first thing that comes to my mind is that you're not clear enough about with your call to actions about what you're selling. You have to make it a bit more clear for people to see that there's actually something they can sell. But sometimes you're just out of luck and your landing page is just so informative that they kind of skip ahead anyway because you know, it's too good informative-wise. But you know, you have to make sure that there are like these key visual cueing points where people will actually start looking at those buy now buttons or whatever whatever it is you want them to look at. Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure how well it works with WooCommerce because it's actually a pain in the ass to implement. He's asking about the new e-commerce tracking, advanced e-commerce tracking tool in Google Analytics. I'm not sure. It's really hard to implement. Actually, we've now implemented it on Yoast.com, but that took some time. It gives you a lot more insights, and it's really great. But the implementation, you know, as ever with Google Analytics, is just really rough. It's not really built user-friendly. So, but it does really work really well. You can get all kinds of stats on where people dropped off your checkout page and where they went. You know, there's a lot more, like you had with the goal conversion funnels. They do that now, but you know, just for e-commerce tracking. So that's awesome. Sorry? Okay, so there is a plugin for WooCommerce. Yeah, I'm you know, actually going to admit now that we don't even use WooCommerce. So yeah, sorry guys.
Over this way.
Yeah, in the back. After looking, sorry, and so you're asking about the returning and new customers? Looking at the new versus returning report. Okay, so he's asking about the action items I look at after looking at the new versus returning report. Basically, what I do, this for us, this was just knowledge. So we knew that a lot of our revenue was not coming where we were hoping it was coming from. So it was not coming from our returning customers. We're like aiming to get 80% of our revenue from our returning customers. And when that's only about 60, that's too low for us. So for us, this was just purely informational. There was no really action, not a real action point at that time for me to handle on, so to act on. So yeah, sorry, it was just purely informational for me to just be able to see, get insights, and then after that you start thinking on what can I do to make people more loyal, and that's what we're doing now. You know, with what I said, you know, implementing email marketing and stuff like that to get people more involved after they've already bought one of our plugins. Any more?
Over this way. I've got the microphone, so you have to talk to me.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So could you just share your thoughts on tracking in relation to keywords, given that we can't really do it now, or we can, or ways around it? Or
tracking of keywords from Google, you mean, from search?
From search, yeah, conversion rates on keywords.
Yeah, so people are coming in from search to your website, and you want to. Well, that tracking is useless now. I mean, Bing. I mean, here in the US it might be a bit different because Bing actually has like 20% here, but in Holland it's like 95% is Google. So there's no use for us to be looking at the keywords data because there is no data anymore because Google Analytics just completely blasted it out. So I don't really look at those keywords in that way anyway. I mean, we have other ways of knowing which keywords people are looking for.
And those
but that's
other
really
ways
a much
are?
more SEO kind of field.
There's other ways. Those
Sorry?
other ways. You said there's other ways of doing it. Those other ways would be.
Those other ways would be Majestic SEO, search metrics, and those are all like tools that are pretty expensive. So you have to really be into SEO to do that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think you're going to get yeah.
There's an app called Improvely. It's a plugin that you can do on WooCommerce sites that I've fallen in love with, and it tracks conversions. You can put in tracking links, and it also shows you, even on direct traffic, it'll show you like keyword searches, and you can see if it's converted or not. So I'll get a report that shows me the search engine or the keywords they use, and if they converted or not on that plugin.
Yeah, but it won't show it for Google though, will it?
Yeah.
So how are they actually tracking Google keywords?
I don't know the back end of it.
Because that can't be done.
I mean,
really.
it's not 100%. I'll get the top category is always going to be, it'll say like direct traffic or Google, and sometimes that might be 50% of my traffic, but it does break it down. I'll still see like mobile Google and search keywords they've used.
Okay.
It's not like a 100% solution, but it does give me a lot more insight, and it shows Bing, and it shows Yahoo search and what they did. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Improvely.
There was one down there as well, I think. No? Yeah. 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 And that's all Google. Google only provides the keywords for AdWords. So as long as you have AdWords, an AdWords account and the paid search, they give you the keywords for, but the non-paid search, they don't give you the keywords for. So, yeah, that's how it works now at Google.
Awesome. I'm going to be all bad cop right now and say, sorry, I think that's about it for time on questions. So thanks.
Thank you very much.